Pete, let's get into the bank. I did a story. You go ahead and pull it up here on CanesInsight.com. The bank, 7.4 million posts and counting on CanesInsight. We do it for free. And there we go. I broke down basically this weekend, but we'll go one by one. Some of the stuff we talked about already, but I went ahead and talked to sources, confirmed some of the things I saw when I was there in person talking to guys, and just kind of my read of the tea leaves. I wasn't really surprised by anything I heard, but that was good. Sometimes you get surprised you don't want to hear. Like, man, this guy, yeah, we love him. We love the talent, but, he was acting like an idiot on his visit. We can't take him. So we didn't, no negative surprises, just positive surprises. So Clutch is saying D-Money, watching D-Money on the screen. Anyways, so just to talk about a few guys here, Pete, and roll through here because I know you know about these guys too. Derrek Cooper, I'm gonna start there. This has been a high priority recruit for the University of Miami. This is a elite running back, top 3, depending who you look at, from Shamadan Madonna, of course, the school of Jeremiah Smith, JoJo Trader, CJ Bailey, major pipeline. Derrek Cooper plays running back. He plays safety. He plays linebacker. He is extremely talented. 6'1", I would say 215. I saw him in person. He looks the part. He is a big, lean athlete. I would say that's all pretty accurate, at least going forward, that he'll be in that range. 10.7, so you're about 4.4, 4.3 type speed, right? It's verified track numbers. He shows it on the field, big time speed. Tough, as you see on the defensive end. He can run through tackles as well. Not the most side-to-side guy, but a very explosive straight-line athlete. And somebody there, you got Georgia, Ohio State, Texas. I mean, we're talking about the cream of the crop after Derrek Cooper. And Morrow circled him and said, listen, this guy is an elite player in South Florida, an elite impact offensive talent. We have lost these guys to other schools for 2 decades now. That ends here. And I think this has been a recruit that circled. I had him leaning to Miami going into the weekend, and I certainly believe that Miami is the favorite coming out of the weekend. I think the big thing with Cooper was really showing him the different ways that he could be used. The Austin comparative to Tavon Austin, who he had at at West Virginia. Obviously, Tavon Austin, 170 pounds, Derrek Cooper, 210 something pounds. So that's not necessarily a one-for-one comparison, but the idea is you're a great athlete. You have unique speed. We're going to use you in a lot of different ways. We're not just going to go put you behind the quarterback and hand you the ball.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. When you said it yesterday, it kind of piqued my interest because they aren't very like athletes to me, especially talk about Tavon Austin, talk about someone who has that elite agility, side to side ability. And that's maybe what you would say is what Cooper's weakness is. But it's an interesting idea to say, look, I've had guys that don't necessarily fit the box of one position. We can make that same thing happen with you.
It's interesting. I mean, look, Tavon Austin, what did he run at the combine? I think he ran, 4.31 or 4.34. So obviously the guy had big time speed. But you look at him in high school, I just pulled up his track numbers. He had like an 11.400 meters. So, I mean, the speed part, I don't think is that different.
Right.
I'm sure Tavon Austin got faster, at least on the track. But, we talk 10.7 speed. That's on the high end. So the big playability, like you said, Pete, the side to side is different. The size is different, but the speed, I think, is pretty similar.
Mike asked why people don't compare Cooper and Sean Taylor in terms of, I mean, I guess Sean Taylor was way taller.
I mean, I don't think anybody compares to Sean Taylor.
Yeah.
He was a 99 in every category. Yeah. I mean, if you ask my honest opinion, and I think Derrek Cooper is a beast. I'm not sure Sean Taylor's not a better running back than Derrek Cooper. Sean Taylor was like a legit elite running back and probably would have been NFL starter, I think, at that position. Had the touchdown record in Florida until Derrick Henry broke it, 10 years later. So yeah, he was pretty special. Brandon, this is right up your alley, Pete. I can't believe Bruno turned down all that Saudi money.
Yeah, I just said in the comments, man, he's tight with Amorim. That's his Portuguese brother, man. So I think he wants to play for him.
All right. Well, speaking of Saudi money, Tristan Keys, wide receiver out of Hattiesburg. Miami was just in Hattiesburg. Obviously, that's where they played Southern Miss. That's where the regional was. So all those Canes fans were in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. In fact, people talked to Tristan Keys. Apparently someone saw my Raising Canes. They said, he liked his visit and all that. My read on Keys, he's been here 3 times, twice unofficially, once officially. He's committed to LSU. He's very open. I think the school, from talking to him, the school's in the mix. LSU, where he's committed, Miami, where he's visited 3 times, and then Alabama and Tennessee. Those are the 4 schools you're really looking at. Of those schools, he is very quick to say Miami had the number 1 offense. I like their offense, or the number 1 offense. He's an Adidas athlete. We talked about it, and he just likes the city, the family, everybody. They're comfortable in Miami. So all those things are check marks. In terms of talking to people around the program, everybody thought the visit went extremely well. They feel very good about where they're at with Keys, but this is not like hey, he's going to commit tomorrow kind of thing. This is going to be a process. It's going to be a battle. He's a high-profile guy. There's a high-profile recruitment. There's a lot of flash to this recruitment. I don't mean that negatively. I just mean this is the bright lights of recruiting. So Miami is firmly in the game. And when you talk about these kind of battles where there's maybe ups and downs, I like to sit back and say, what are the things that we know for sure of the various schools and how the pieces fit, right? The unchangeables, right? Because you go on a visit and you're like, man, this is where I want to be. Then you go on another visit, you're like, oh, I love this. What are the unchangeables? I think the offensive fit he's comfortable with, the Adidas thing, and then really and he was also bonding, by the way, with receivers on Miami's current team, which is an underrated factor, Pete, from recruiting, is like kind of that player on team recruit connection. That was good this weekend. But I just think, I keep saying it, this guy belongs in Miami. We've talked to him. We've interviewed him. He's been here a million times. He's a Miami guy. He's not a I'm sure he reps Hattiesburg, Mississippi, but he's not like, hey, I'm staying in this deep South my whole life. I need to kind of guy. I don't get that vibe from him. Much more of like he's more of a star than that in my view. So we'll see how that plays out. But I like where we're at with Tristan Keys. The staff likes where they're at, but they know this is going to be a battle.
Yeah. I think you obviously do whatever you can to land this guy, and Miami's had him down here, 4 times, maybe another time coming up here in the future. I think this could end up being, I'm not saying it's going to end the same way, but the DJ Pickett recruitment, it's kind of similar to that. I think it could end up going to the end. I suggested yesterday, is Miami maybe trying to push to make that happen? And I'm not saying they aren't, but it doesn't sound like that one's ending anytime soon.
No, here you go. Delane Simmons saying, the ones of us that live in Hattiesburg always want out. And look, I mean, I learned this long ago with recruiting. I think I got like Clint Portis. Clint Portis was from Gainesville. So, you would say kind of country, right, on paper. But he's a city kind of guy, flashy kind of guy. He was on the visit as well. We'll talk about Camden Portis in a second. But, he's that kind of guy. And he ultimately went to Miami, and it was a fit. So just because you're from the country doesn't mean you want to stay in the country. And look, there's some people that want to stay in the country. They're like, man, listen, I want to go to SEC. I want to be laid back. I want to fish on the weekends, hunt on the weekends. By the way, you could fish here for a little bigger fish down here in South Florida. But, there's those kind of guys, and they go SEC, and it's whatever. That's part of recruiting. They're not all the same kid. This is our kind of guy, I think.
Couple defensive linemen in SEC country, 5 stars that Miami looks like they're making a move with, Anthony Tank Jones and Lamar Brown. So where do they stand with those guys right now?
So I'm feeling really, really good talking to people. Everybody is consistent on this. I talk to Auburn people. I read national people. I talk to Miami people, obviously. I like where we're going with Anthony Tank Jones. He's a 5-star player. I believe he's top 20 in the country player overall at the edge from Mobile, Alabama. He's in that 6'4", 240 kind of range. Good size for, I think, maybe a boundary edge here. State champion in the discus, runner-up in the shot put, plays basketball. You see his highlights. Not only is he great on the edge, he's also playing receiver, catching passes. So this is a really good athlete, and everybody knows I'm a big believer in multi-sport and sports that translate. So here you see him just rushing the passer. This is what looks nice move right there. This is what he's going to major in. But when you're the state champion in the discus and runner up in the shot, but there you see the power just throwing that block aside. Yeah, and look at the tackle. So when you had that ability, that to me shows you your strength and explosive power. But then look at this. here he is at tight end, getting open, making a catch. This is good football here in Mobile, Alabama, Pete. I know this is your home away from home, and they play real football here. They're really well coached. Here you see him getting off blocks and just destroying people. I like that combination of the finesse with the power, and then the fact that he already turns it on the field. I mean, this is someone who's produced. So he gets sacks at the high school level. He's very productive. You see the two-way production. Heard he's a great kid as well.
He's playing out wide too, man, running by people. That's it's impressive.
Maybe we'll do it. Who knows? We might see this at the University of Miami. So Auburn and Miami.
Who was the kid that went to Oregon that was a commit to Miami?
DJ Johnson. Yeah, he ended up going to Carolina. Johnson. He was a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah, and he played both ways for Oregon. Similar body type.
That was your first go around with CanesInSight. I remember that you were all.
That was in the later part. But I it's funny because I remember getting off the phone call with that kid, and I called you right away. I'm like, yo, this kid. And this was early in the process. No one thought Miami had a chance. He was from Sacramento. I was like, this kid's coming to Miami. I've never been so sure of it after an interview. It's crazy.
I remember that vividly. That's crazy. That was Miami had still not won a regional since then. That's how long ago it was. But anyway, so this guy is to me he's a 5-star recruit from Mobile, Alabama, defensive line. This is a position that battles we don't usually win. But when you talk about Jason Taylor, look at the Wildcat. I love the athleticism here. So when you look at Jason Taylor, he won the battle for Marquise Lightfoot. He won the battle for Hayden Lowe. This is in his wheelhouse. Most people are going to say Auburn. What I'll say about Auburn, first of all, he visited Auburn before he visited Miami. So his official visit to Auburn already happened, and I think there's a lot of confidence out of Miami they can get this done. So that's in the rear view. Doesn't mean Auburn's going to stop working, but you don't have a visit on the horizon. That's number one. Alabama's still in the mix. There's other schools in the mix, Texas A&M, but Auburn particularly you already visited them. They have prioritized another 5-star from Pensacola, so same distance to Auburn. Trenton Harrison, I believe is the name, and he. Similarly, Henderson, sorry. So similarly rated player. And there's a sense like, hey, are you treating me like the top priority? Because Miami is treating Anthony Jones like an absolute top priority. So you put all that together. I think the coach that he was real close with left to be the defensive coordinator for East Carolina at Auburn. So a lot of factors that allow you to get just a window to get a player this talented who could do these kind of things. Look at him knock this dude's lights out at receiver and then go and get another block. So that gives you a chance to get in here to this kind of 5-star recruitment. And everything I'm hearing is Miami has a real chance to get this done. And I think, what do you think, Pete? You've been following recruiting for a long time. 5-star DN from Alabama.
Honestly, this is one of the better tapes I've seen this year. At least the guys that are committed to Miami or in the mix. This is, and then obviously we've done a lot of the stuff on group chat. This is one of the best 5 to 10 players I've seen this year in the country.
Oh yeah, look, he's a 5-star, right?
Yeah, So it's not that he's what you said, top 20 nationally ranked. This kid is this is a must-get sort of player to me.
I'm with you. We need to talk about it more, and I think part of it is there's even coverage too. I just see a football player. Obviously he's a great athlete. You don't win track state championships, play basketball, play receiver without being athletic. But this guy's out here playing.
And he's not. He's a pass rusher, but he's not. He's not like a project. He's not. The frame's not projectable. He's big already, and then he has the movement skills. So
big time.
Yeah.
So he can play linebacker, man. What a stud.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's one Canes fans look. Long way to go, but you got to get excited about the possibility to land a player like that. There you go. Players named Tank always seem to go to Auburn. And it shows you, to me, the shift, Pete. Again, you as a recruiting veteran, the shift in the recruiting mindset. Can you imagine even thinking about a guy like this with Manny, with Golden? It wouldn't even be a concept that we could get this kind of player where he is located.
No, you look at, obviously, the Miami's recruiting mentality with Mario has been national, but just in general as well. Listen, we've talked about it before. The SEC has always played by their own rules. That's nullified now. I'm not saying Auburn will throw money around, with the best of them, but kid grew up in the state of Alabama, maybe wants to experience something different and is also going to be compensated well for it, right? So you have that opportunity, and guy like him, we've seen it with these elite guys the last couple of years, these Miami success getting these 5 stars in the trenches. You say you're going to be coached by Jason Taylor. It goes a long way, man. The recruiting process is, it's almost like cheating in a way, because he has more accolades than pretty much anyone at his same position, right? And obviously there's plenty of great coaches and people in sports who didn't play the game at the highest level. But recruiting wise, it's and that, to me, it's almost like it makes Mario's job easier, because Mario's the lead guy on any of these 5 stars. Mario can just do his talking and point to Jason Taylor, point to Damian Lewis in that room and say, these guys, obviously JT's a Hall of Famer, but Damian Lewis, first round pick, correct?
Yep.
At 5-star, it's a lot easier to point to these guys. And I think that goes a long way in these recruiting processes.
No doubt. Play by the rules. Appreciate the support. Asking how many 5 stars can we realistically hope to land? You got one, right? So Jackson Canwell's committed. I would say Tristan Keys, very viable. I don't know if Calvin Russell's is a 5-star right now. Let's assume they're both 5 stars. I think you can get one of those 2 for sure. I also say those, that would be 2. Anthony Jones, I think we got a great shot at. That would be 3. Lamar Brown, we'll talk about here in a second. You're in the game there. I wouldn't say you're that's the favorite. That'll be a battle and a half, but you're in the game there. So I'm just thinking of 5 stars that we're kind of in the mix with. I might be leaving someone out. Let me know in the comments, but those are the ones that jump out. I think 3 is realistic. And if you get 3 5 stars, you're doing pretty good. You're doing pretty good. You got 3 5 stars. You're gonna be a top 5 class easy.
So yeah, you just talked about Lamar Brown there. Wanted to get to this question real quick before we move to the next name. Ink Kane asking, still recruiting Pepe, have a real chance at a flip? From what I understand, Dean, you tell me if you've heard anything different. I think Miami wanted him to still take his official visit. He said, look, I'm not taking any visits right now. I'm sticking with USC. But I think there's kind of a belief of, we'll continue to keep our line of communication open. We'll see what happens during the season. USC, there's a lot of positive momentum over there right now. They obviously are excited to improve on what happened last year, but things kind of go south there. I'm not counting Miami out in that one. Obviously you have a lot of money committed to Cantwell, and you have a lot of high profile names you're recruiting there still. Brett Colajay, Cannon Pickett, but Pepe would be a guy that they obviously still want very badly. He's holding firm in USC for right now, but I don't think they're giving up there.
Yeah, about 2,000 on, man. Like and subscribe to the show. With respect to Pepe, I think I agree with everything you said. If USC implodes, let's say Jaden Mayava is just like, man, screw this coach. These guys suck. Lincoln Riley's getting fired or gets an extension that no one wants him to get because the team's doing terrible. Maybe they're like, maybe Mayava says, or whoever, like the players on the team are telling Pepe, don't come here, man, which happens, believe it or not. That happens a lot. There's a lot of things that could happen when there's negative vibes. Right now, USC hasn't played a game. They could have a very good season and be right on the track. They have a great recruiting class. They could go right on the track back to prominence, or it could go south. If it goes south, Miami has a long relationship. They still want the player. So that would be, like you said, Pete, I think the way it would work out. But it's not like they're just going to go in and flip them. Johnny Lagoon asking, Pete, you need to write one of those old plug posts for old time's sake, maybe basketball or something.
Maybe, man, maybe. And if it happens, I'll just drop it. I'm not giving you guys any warning.
So we'll talk about Lamar Brown, and then we'll talk about our friends at East last year. But with Lamar Brown, defensive tackle from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Still struggle with that pronunciation. Anyways, defensive tackle, 5-star elite, tested out of this universe, great player on the field, goes to school on LSU's campus. I believe the school is called University Lab right there. Mm-hmm. It's literally on campus with LSU as a high school. But I keep hearing that Texas A&M is a team that's really invested a lot in Lamar Brown. And that would be the team that'd be more so to watch than LSU. Not saying LSU can't get him, but the team that I think a lot of people are kind of keeping their eye on is Texas A&M with Lamar Brown. Now, The weekend, home run. Couldn't have gone better. You saw his tweets. Miami's in it. So now it's about big time recruiting, stay in the game, chip away, keep the relationship going, and see what happens. You're in the game there. I would say if you ask me what's more likely, a Lamar Brown or an Anthony Jones, I would lean towards Anthony Jones here, but that's not because of this weekend. This weekend was great with Lamar Brown. I mean, you gave yourself a chance there, a good chance. But I think with Jones, I see the stars aligning a little more with like the whole picture. But we'll see. So, and there's no reason you can't get both. It's going to be tough, obviously, to go to the South and get 2 studs like that. 2 5-star defensive linemen from the South. I mean, you would put Cristobal in the recruiting Hall of Fame if he pulls that off, but it's not impossible. And I think we'll get one.
Brian, good morning, man. Appreciate the support. Hit that like and subscribe. If you guys are just joining the show, listen, we had some people asking for the football stuff when we were talking baseball, but if you're just joining the show now, we actually did a pretty long segment on the baseball team. So of course we'll you can always rewind and check that out. But as we keep you want to talk about, of course, Islas.
Yeah. And by the way, we'll separate all these segments too. So like if you missed the baseball, we'll have the baseball separate. You could watch that. You could watch the bank as well. So we'll give you everything you need. That's one thing we've been trying to do on the show, and you guys have responded very well. Is we had the live show, 2,000 on right now, comments going crazy, but we know some people can't make everything or can't sit, they don't have time for the whole thing. So we cut up segments as well. Been putting those out on the channel, so you can always catch those. But we had a comment up here. Where was it? Let me find it here. Somebody was saying we got to give Islas to the baseball team. So yeah, those are some big boys. I'm sure they're hungry after a game like this, so after a weekend like this, and you know where to go. You're going to Islas Canarias, the #1 Cuban restaurant on planet Earth, 40 plus years of serving the Miami community. They were out there in Tamiami and Sweetwater doing their thing, and now they are centrally located here in Dayland Mall, the Dayland Dining Pavilion, right in the middle of everything, right there on the metro. You know where to go. 7 different types of croquetas. Canes Cat saying Will Smith threw a lot of Islas croquetas last night. They weren't touching anything. But go out there.
Dude, my buddy just moved to Dayland, and he told me one of the things he's most excited about is that he's going to be there next to Islas Canarias Express.
Tell him take a picture. We'll throw it on the show. I know he's going to be happy, man, because it is as good as it gets out there at Islas Canarias. So, listen, you hear it every time. You hear the happy customers in the comments. Everybody knows what time it is when it comes to Islas Canarias. JT say too early to make me this hungry, man. So hey, listen, what can I tell you? It's there. It's there morning. It's there light. It's there all day. So Johnny Lagoon is at my spot. I know Johnny Lagoon's a big kimchi croqueta guy, a man of the world, a cultured man right there. Broadening his horizons, but you can still get the OG ham croqueta. You can get every single different type of croqueta under the sun. Islas Canarias.
Canes Cat Seat says, I heard Will Smith was dealing some Islas at the ballpark last night.
Oh, man, he was balling. H. Canes, our boy Ken said, hope everyone appreciates just how much, how big this team winning the regional is. I think we're spoiled a bit. Getting to Omaha is huge if we pull it off. Since 2016, man, it's been a while. Man. So, grateful. Look, by the way, Dennis, look at some of the teams that did not make a regional, right? Vanderbilt, #1 overall seed. Texas A&M preseason #1 didn't even make the tournament. Virginia preseason #2 didn't even make the tournament. You're seeing a lot of these SEC schools that thought they were going to be advancing. Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, right? These teams that thought they were going to be right there in the mix are gone. So, shout out to the Canes for getting it done. Peanut Boy 69, appreciate you supporting the show. Asking, how are we looking with Calvin Russell? Can we possibly get Keys? There's Tristan Keys, Messiah Hampton, and Calvin Russell. I think if they could, they would. So they're going to try. Everything I heard was good with Russell. He's tight with Malachi Toney, who is loving Miami. He's playing a lot, showing the path to play as a freshman. We offered him a basketball, which is a big hurdle. He's a basketball player. His mom's in the Hall of Fame for basketball. So there's a lot going on there. Syracuse, which is also in the mix for Messiah Hampton, is pushing hard on Cooper. They don't really have a good quarterback. I think that could be a situation that, Syracuse has to really roll kind of a perfect They have to get that royal flush to get a kid like Cooper. They got to pay him. They got to have the relationship, and they got to show something on the field. If one of those falls apart, let's say the football side, he's up for grabs. So I think there's a chance you could get Cooper and Tristan Keys. Other schools have done it, right? There's no rule says you can't get multiple studs in one recruiting class. Look at what Ohio State does and some of these other schools, LSU, right? So we'll see. It's going to come down to a lot of factors, including Canes Connection, by the way, guys. Sign up CanesConnection.com/CIS. You want to stack up 5-star recruits? You got to pay the cost to be the boss, as the great Snoop Dogg said back when he was with No Limit Records. You have to pay the cost to be the boss. You want to be the boss of college football, of the ACC. You got to pay and be your part of it, right? Don't just be on the sidelines. Canes Connection. Sign up through our deal, CanesConnection.com/CIS. Get special offers, special perks, including private Zoom chat with me. Talk about things I cannot talk about here. There's all these different donation levels. Whatever level you're comfortable with, you are in, you are helping, you are part of Canes Connection. You're part of the solution. You're on the inside of this thing. You're not on the outside. CanesConnection.com/CIS.
We'll get back to the bank here, but I was just thinking now we got to do after baseball season wraps up and this stuff's so results oriented, but we got to do a state of the U sort of address of the athletics department, man, because I think you look back a few months ago, the basketball team was at an awful place. We still have to see what happens, on the floor, but basketball team was in a horrible place. We were excited about football season, but the end of the year was a really, really bad place to be as a Canes fan. And then there wasn't a ton of optimism from the outside in on baseball before the year. And now you're looking at it like, okay, a lot of positive stuff going on in basketball. We see what's happening in football with the recruiting class and trying to build off last year. And then baseball is in a really nice spot. It looks like heading into this offseason, whatever happens here should be in a position of strength in the portal. So exciting times, man. Shout out to everyone in that athletic department. So
absolutely,
again, results oriented, but good vibes right now.
Oh, yeah, shout out. How about James Knable? Big game, James Knable, man. First year as SID, getting to go to super regionals, potentially to Omaha, man. So I know he's fired up. He was texting me at like 1:30 a.m. It's really a good team. There's a lot of people involved in this whole process, man. So you're happy to see these guys and girls have success. A lot of questions on DT. So I want to get here. So Jonathan Crumbly, who's going to be the undersized DT we take out of Florida? We take one every other class. Would that be Norman? Anthony Manzano's asking if Lamar Brown goes to Texas A&M, who's our backup plan at defensive tackle? Is it Trenton Henderson? Is it Bryce Perry Wright? Another question on DT from 904 Hurricane. How concerned are you about DT depth? Any concerns about Notre Dame pounding between the tackles and possibly laying a blueprint on how to beat Miami game one? So I'll start. Defensive tackle is the rarest position in football. It's hard to find those guys. They are the most expensive. They're the most rare physically. There's only so many of them, not that many sleepers. I would say in terms of name that I'd keep an eye on coming out of this weekend, Keyshawn Stansel, 4-star defensive tackle out of Raleigh, North Carolina. Visited this weekend, visited unofficially in the spring. We visited him up in North Carolina. A lot of points of contact with Stansel. Clemson's involved. That visit's coming up. Penn State's involved. That visit's coming up. NC State. So this guy's got some big-time visits coming up. But when I talked to him after his visit, man, he sounded like he was about to commit. I mean, he loved Miami. His mom was there. She loved Miami. There's a relationship there. There's a name that's been on the scene for a while. Penetrating 3 technique, 4-star player. Very talented. But, Clemson, they recruit pretty well in the Carolinas. They get a lot of first-round defensive linemen. Penn State is a first-round defensive factory. Obviously, they do a great job recruiting with James Franklin. So it's a big boy battle. That's going to happen anytime you have a talented defensive tackle. But if you could survive those visits, I mean, Miami, I think, is the leader right now for Keyshawn Stansel. That'd be one defensive tackle. And as far as like just the overall depth, you need Justice Scott to be what you expect him to be. He's been that in spring. Got to do it on the field, but he's a top 10 player overall out of high school, 5-star. Those guys play. And then Moten needs to keep developing, and you need David Blade to be what you project out of Louisiana Tech. I know Pete's talked to some scouts who are big fans of him. But going to Stansel here, 23 tackles for loss, bunch of sacks. I saw him in person. He's definitely about 6'3", 6'2". He's tall. He's got to gain some weight, but he will. You can tell he's not been in the weight room too much over there in North Carolina. I think he's kind of a guy that spends a year down here, and then he looks big. But the first step quickness, Pete, as you watch this, that's what I think is attracting some of these big-time schools.
Yeah, and fluid. I mean, he's a fluid mover. It's one thing to have a quick step, but some of these guys are like herky jerky movers, right? Like it's explosive and it's quick, but it doesn't look very not that looks can be deceiving at these spots, but yeah, you see him here getting upfield. He's running, looking bend the corner there. I mean, he just ran 15, 20 yards on that play. So it's an impressive athlete that you're looking at here.
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point as far as, there's the bull in the china shops, right? They just go upfield and they're fast, but they're stiff and they don't find the football. They have no eyes to where the ball is.
Yeah, they
Whereas this
can't
guy
finish
does.
plays. He's finishing these plays, man. So yeah, big fan of this one right here.
Yeah, man, we got Adrian Lorenzo in the comments. Shout out to Adrian Lorenzo. Me and Adrian do El Big League show, just recorded yesterday. He is a former MLB executive, two-time World Series champ with the Boston Red Sox, and really breaking down MLB at a high level. If you guys are baseball fans, also college baseball, we talked a lot of college baseball. Adrian knows the Canes roster better than anybody, so check that show out. If El Big League show, just write it to YouTube. Go ahead and like and subscribe, support us if you could. And I think if you're a baseball fan, you'll really enjoy just getting insight from the executive perspective, right? I just ask the questions, but then you get some insight from the high level executive and how they approach the game, service time, the MLB draft, college versus high school evaluations. There's really in-depth, cool stuff. We've even got Japanese baseball there too, Pete. I think that might be your next obsession after the Saudi soccer. Maybe we'll get some.
I never know.
Japanese baseball.
I never know what my next interest is going to be, so I'm not going to count it out.
The James Bond of the game, man, the world traveler. There is my boy Jaden Hewitt. Appreciate you. Missed it yesterday. You know my baseball nerd status. I'll go back and watch. Jaden should send me a catcher yesterday to keep an eye on for the portal. It looked really good. Talented athlete there with some good production on offense. So shout out to Jaden. If you guys know any baseball players that are hitting the portal, text me. Hit me up on the comments. I'll try to get them to the University of Miami. Let's see what else we got here. Questions on College A. There's Brett College A, offensive lineman out of Colorado, now at IMG. Miami wants him bad. Georgia wants him bad. He's a highly touted player. I think Miami's got a great chance. Cannon Pickett looks like he's going to be in this class. He hasn't visited yet, but he visited Clemson on their big weekend. Clemson rolled out the red carpet. Still looks like he's a Cane lean. Obviously a Cane legacy with his dad and his brother. So, I think that's one piece of it. And now the last piece is College A. So if you get Cannon Pickett done, all the energy is going to be focused on College A. He's visited unofficially a bunch. Miami loves him. Miami would like to take College A and Pickett, not College A or Pickett. So see if they can get it done.
So you want to talk about who's the last guy? We talked about Stansel. We haven't spoken about Samorian Wingo, right?
Yeah, Samorian Wingo, UF-UM battle. Good athlete, good bigger receiver. Seems to like his visit a lot. I think that's one, Miami is keeping the communication with, and, we'll see how that one develops. But I think UM and UF there, and, Miami will keep in communication there. I don't see anything imminent on that one.
Couple linebackers, Malik Morris, Anthony Kennedy Jr. There's been talk about Miami pursuing them, but as of now, it doesn't look like their priorities, right?
Right. Anthony Kennedy Jr. is actually D-tackled. He's the big 330 kid from Little Rock. So I don't think either of those. I don't think we're going to go in those directions. I wouldn't expect either of those in the class.
And then at corner, Brody Jennings, who was just on campus this weekend. Obviously, very unfortunate. Father just passing away last week, but looks like Miami's making a move there. Michigan commit.
Yeah, let's talk about Brody Jennings and Peony Boys. We'll get to your comment here in a second. But with Brody Jennings, I think this is a name. If you're a Canes fan, some of the names to circle. We talked about Anthony Jones, talked about Keyshawn Stansel. Obviously, some of the big names you guys know. Circle Brody Jennings. Pull up his highlights here. This is a guy who is considered by internally. I think I'll look at his ratings. He's a Michigan commit. I want to say he's a low 4-star player. Let me look at his actual rating. But this is a guy like in the building when he was committed to Michigan, that he was valued at an extremely high level. He has a low 4-star in composite, number 22 corner in the country. 247 is not as high on him. But, again, 247 is not doing a great job evaluating lately. But look at this guy. I mean, I personally, when I see this guy, his dad, his brother, both college high major linebackers. This guy's got size and physicality, but look at the movement skills. Look at the ball awareness. I think there's a big time man-to-man corner. Incredible tragedy with his father, Bradley Jennings, just passing away suddenly. Bradley Jennings, good shape. I mean, this guy was a stud linebacker, passed away just like that from a heart attack. I mean, just heartbreaking stuff. And then this guy still made his visit. He was with his brother. He was with his sister who runs track for Miami. Bradley Jennings, the son played at Miami at linebacker. So there's a lot of Miami ties. The family's originally from Miami. Michigan commit, Michigan knows what they're doing when it comes to defensive evaluations. I'm not sure there's that many programs in the country that are better. Like they get these guys with these low 4-stars and you see them in the first round. So Michigan's really good at those guys. They would love to keep Brody Jennings, but I would feel comfortable kind of projecting Brody Jennings to the Miami Hurricanes. Jacksonville area, Miami always wants to try to make inroads to their quarterback. He went to Mandarin High School, Carson Beck. So this is Carson Beck's alma mater. And you see the highlights, man. P. I mean, I don't know if you've even seen Brody Jennings yet. And this is your first time looking at him, but
no, I like him. I mean, the length is there. I like when I see the guys blitzing on their highlights off the edge there, and we've seen that a couple times. It's such a corner of physical. I mean, it's such a position of physical traits. We understand the bloodlines. We see, we understand he plays against great competition. So to me, I trust the staff on these sort of evaluations. That's not even a trust thing. He's committed to Michigan, right? So I think it's almost a no-brainer.
Yeah, man. This is a guy that would, I think, come in ready to play. When I first heard about him, like, his dad, his brother, both linebackers. Is he going to be just kind of like a big stiff guy, right? But he's so fluid, man. He has those natural cornerback skills. You see how easily he just scoops us up. It's not just a kind of a size speed guy that runs in straight lines. This is a fluid corner, finds the football, good hips, changes direction. I'm a big fan, and I know Miami loves him, and they're going to be, look at the physicality. He has that part too. That part didn't fall far from the tree. So Brody Jennings, guys, if you're talking about this weekend, guys, to circle, this would be one.
Well, and I think he had another brother too, Brandon
Yeah,
Jennings?
yeah. He went to like Maryland and Michigan.
Brandon, yeah, but he ended up at Mississippi State, and he was a good player. I remember him being a good player as well. So I think he might have had a better numbers or ended up having a better college career than Bradley. But they've got bloodlines, man. And he was 6'3", 240. That's what he was listed as. So
big boy, man, big boy. All right, so what else we got, Pete, on the bank here? I know we got a couple guys.
A few other defensive backs, Tamarian Watkins. So I mean, I guess he's like a tweener safety linebacker, but looks like Miami's getting in the mix there.
Yeah, I saw him in person, talked to him. He looks like James Williams, right? Body type. He's not like a Sean Taylor where he's like thick and heavy. He's going to need to gain weight. He can gain weight. He's tall. He's lanky. He said he'll play linebacker. If it doesn't work out, he'll play safety. Either one, Miami will take him. First time visiting Miami. Most of these guys came on unofficial visits, so it wasn't their first time on campus. With him, it was. It went well. Miami moved the needle. I think with him, obviously, the Carolina schools are going to be heavy on him. Clemson, South Carolina, so that's where you would lean. If Miami can get him back on campus for an unofficial, I think this recruitment kicks up to another level. We'll see. But Miami made moves their first visit with him. He's just a little, behind in the process because he didn't visit in spring. So you're hoping to catch up. We'll see. It went well. Miami likes him. So I think that's one. Keep an eye on that one. But, I couldn't say, hey, I'm projecting him to Miami. I think you would still lean the Carolina schools, but that's to be determined. Dr. Jones says, is your guy Hezi Kent taking an OV? I believe he is, Pete. Your guy, Superman.
I hope so. Camden Portis, solid commitment right now.
No issues there. Clinton Portis' son. There's some buzz always with Delaware State because Clinton Portis is coaching there. He's wearing Delaware State gear around the visit. Not Camden, but Clinton was at times. But I think the guy was going to go to UM. He was committed solidly. He looked taller. He's not a big guy, like strong like his dad, but he's got enough height. He's not a short guy at all. He's probably 6 foot. A good nickel. That's where he fits best. He can move. He's smart. He ran a 10.9 the other day, so he's got enough speed, right, like his dad did. And he's just a good football player. IQ, tackling, all that kind of stuff is there. So you feel good about that aspect of him.
Yeah, look, if for whatever reason it doesn't work out in Miami, you can always fall back on Delaware State. Zach Turner at tight end. He's someone that we've played his highlights before. Got a lot of juice, man. Really more of a receiving tight end, right? He's not someone that's going to be used in the blocking game, but potential mismatch issue out wide.
Yeah, no, this relates to Zach Turner, so I'm kind of going off topic, but I'll bring it back to Zach Turner. Brian asked saying about Camden Portis, I hope he works out. Our legacy commits haven't had a high hit rate. They only have a high hit rate when they go to other schools. It's like I think to RJ Maryland, right, which is how I'll transition it, who's the tight end at Southern Methodist. He is Russell Maryland's son. Really good tight end, one of the better tight ends in the country for him. A lot of people compare him to the guy we're about to talk about, Zach Turner, who is a tight end from Dallas, Texas. I know Rohan Marley's kid was a good player for Tulane.
Nico
Marley Blades was a good player for LSU. One of those Blades kids. There's been a few guys that have left. I'm sure I'm leaving some big ones out. Brock Purdy, probably the biggest one, whose dad played for Canes baseball. That's a legacy that we wish we could get back. But there's been a few. Oh, Frank Gore Jr. was a pretty good player.
Yeah, Frank Gore Jr. for sure.
So there's a few of those guys that we wish we got. But yeah, the ones we've gotten haven't turned out. We'll see with Camden. I think Camden's higher rated than some of those guys. He's a 4-star player. So it's not like Miami's his only option. He could go to any school probably in the ACC. Coming out of Charlotte, North Carolina. So, that part's a little different. We'll see. But Camden Pickett's another legacy, so you want to get that one done as well. But on Zach Turner, Pete, guy we've watched his highlights, we like him, right? Very productive from Duncanville, Texas. Played with Keelan Russell, Alabama freshman quarterback. Great team there. He put up big numbers, even though he was playing with DeCorian Moore, who in my opinion is going to be kind of like the Jeremiah Smith of this year. A huge DeCorian Moore fan, signed with Oregon, number 1 receiver in the country. Turner played with him. Put up big numbers at tight end, 6'3", 225, let's say. So kind of in your Elijah Lofton mold, not as big and bulky like a running back, more of just like a true H-back, but a great receiver, very advanced. Miami loves him. Miami wants him big time. The question is, I think, Miami had a great visit with him this weekend. He visited also unofficially. He's one of those unofficial visits. Question with him, is he going to be able to survive that Southern Methodist visit without committing? Because if he doesn't, I think Miami will be the favorite. If SMU gets their claws into him, he's a local kid. They want him really bad. They can't lose guys like that. It could get it could get ugly. So we'll see how that one plays out.
And then just to wrap things up here, a couple of Florida-based defensive ends: Daniel Norman from St. Thomas, and then DeAnthony Lafayette from Orlando.
I would say Norman, a high upside. I liked how he looked in person. They're going to keep him warm and keep communication with him. I don't think that's something that's imminent, like right away. I think that might be closer to the season. But, a St. Thomas kid with that kind of talent, I could see being a Hurricane. We'll see. The DeAnthony Lafayette, I think he likes Oklahoma. They got a heads up on him. So they're the leader. But Miami likes him. They're not going to just give up if he commits to Oklahoma. So maybe, that could be something that Miami keeps working. And then if Oklahoma has a bad year or whatever happens, Miami has a good year, you can see him flip down the road. I don't think that's one that Miami is just going to let go. But there were a couple other guys Pete I want to talk about too. I know Samari Matthews, another corner from the Carolinas, I believe in the Charlotte area, like Camden Portis. A lot of guys from the Carolinas in this. We're talking about Keyshawn Stansel, Camden Portis from Charlotte, and now Samari Matthews from Rock Hill, South Carolina, which is really more on the border, closer to Charlotte. Miami thinks he's one of the best players in the country, and they are after him big time. And I think Texas is the leader right now, but he's another one that if he commits to Texas or wherever, they'll keep recruiting him, keep working him for a flip. He had a great visit to the Miami Hurricanes.